Okay. So here's the the thing for today. So I'll do an example and then I'll post my code onto GitHub so you'll have something to look at. The challenge will basically involve you doing a version of what I'll be doing right now. Okay, so we've got an app or a project in Django. Project is called My Site. It's got two apps. I saved 30 seconds by doing this beforehand. So there's an auth app and a blog app. So these are both just normal apps that I created in Django. The auth app, as you might expect, is going to handle users and authorization and authentication and all that stuff. Does anyone know the difference between authorization and authentication?
I think authentication is when you identify a person as being the right person, and authorization is if they have the right access controls.
Yeah, exactly. So those two things are usually pretty tightly coupled, knowing who someone is and knowing what they're allowed to do. So authentication is, are you who you say you are? And authorization is, are you allowed to do this? But typically these aren't two totally separate things, right? They go together. So yeah, just some trivia. So we'll look at Django's authentication, basically authentication, but we'll also use it for authorization. All right, so we have these two. I'm going to go into my site in the settings, and I'm going to add these two installed apps. Blog. And I'm going to go, let's go to the URLs. I'm going to import include. So I can hand it off to these two apps, path. So we'll handle the auth stuff with the auth app. And then we'll have our blog application. All right, so let's take care of the auth first. Well, let's do the blog first. We'll do the blog first. So blog, create the URLs. And from Django.urls, import. Does anyone else have dreams about going through this process? URL. So we'll have kind of like a null path, which will be to get all posts and name. And then another path. So we want to have an application, a web application that serves up blog posts, but only authenticated users are allowed to see certain. So there are certain protected routes and then unprotected routes. So I'm going to say that, let's just say that you can, if you're not logged in, you can see all posts. And if you are logged in, then you can see some other special subset of posts. We'll figure out what that is in a minute. But let's say, so protected, this will be our protected route, which you have to be logged in to see. And then we'll import that. All right, so now we'll go into views. Def all posts. And then, what is it? Protected. Okay, so now we have these stubbed out. So that should be good enough for now. And we'll go into the model. And just to keep things simple, let's just say that the authentication system isn't really attached to the rest of the application. So you don't have to, blog posts don't have authors or whatever. It would be very easy to implement, but we'll just keep it separate for now. So class. And let's have title. Yeah, see models dot. Self.title, and then so. All right, so we have our blog post model, and we have the URLs figured out for the blog app. All right, let's go to the auth app. So the auth app, first off, we're going to need URLs. URLs.py from Django.urls import path. Path. So we have our the basic functionality that we want to have is we want users to be able to sign up, log in, and log out. There are other more complicated things we could do, like resetting a password and things like that. We're just going to focus on the basic stuff. So sign up, log in, log out. Sign up, this will log in. I'm just gonna, there might be a name, just make sure there's no namespace naming issues. And then finally, log out. Okay, so we've got all this, then we're gonna have to import these view functions. So from .views, import log out user. And we go to our views, and we need to define these three, def sign up user. Login user. All right, so let's see, got our URLs. So now in our models, so our model, we could do a few things. One, we could use just the built-in Django user as is, which will work, but that's not really recommended. We could also do a one-to-one relationship with a profile. So that gives you some flexibility. You can extend essentially extend the Django built-in user that way. And you can also subclass it. So that's what we'll do. That's the officially recommended way of doing it. But other ways of doing it also work. So we'll do class. Let's do blog user, and that's going to import from abstract user, and abstract user is going to have to be inherited. So from Django dot contrib dot auth dot models import abstract user. And abstract user is basically the same as user. And now anything we add here, if we just want to add, so we can do more complicated customization, but here we just want to add one extra field. And let's say this is like is paid, something like that. Boolean field. Default will be false. Okay, so you do something like that. So we're inheriting from the Django built-in user, and we're adding a field. So if we did this as a one-to-one relationship with a profile, we could call this profile, and that would inherit from models.model, and then we could just do this would be like a one-to-one models.one-to-one field with the built-in user. All right, so we have this, and we have changed the user that we want Django to use. So we have to go into the settings and tell it that. So it says auth user model, and that takes a string, which is basically like an import. So that will be, this comes from auth dot blog user. Is that what that's called? Yeah, blog user. Okay. So the app name auth dot the model that we want to use as the kind of default user that Django cares about. All right. So now we have for both auth and blog. Let me double check auth again. Use URLs. Okay, so I think we're good. I'm going to add, so I can use the admin panel. I'm going to add both of these models, register both of these models. So I'm going to have to import, so from dot models, import blog user, and then admin dot site dot register blog user. I'm going to do the same thing with blog. From dot models, import blog post admin dot site dot register blog post. Okay, so that looks good so far. So I'm going to try to do the migrations, and then I'll create a super user. Python manage.py make migrations. Okay. So we have an issue here. Application labels aren't unique, duplicates off. So I go into my site settings. We have an issue, or I've basically given the same name. So there's a built-in auth, so I'm going to change it to and I have to change it in 10 other places. So blog. I think that should be good. We'll see. Try again. Okay, so just some cleanup here with the renaming. Apologies. We'll go to my site URLs. There we go. And I'm gonna migrate. Okay, and then create super user. And run the server. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like that is working so far. Go to blog. Okay, didn't return, blah, blah, blah. So that's fine. We don't have that set up. It's just passing. So admin, we can go to admin, log in. And we have our blog posts, which we can add blog posts, and then user auth application. Django is still calling this users, but let's go ahead and add a new one. So we can see that there's is paid subscriber, this Boolean field shows up there. So one thing we can do here is we can go into the user auth models. And here we can add a meta, the inner meta class, which is basically just extra attributes you want the class to have. So class meta. And then there's a predefined value called verbose name. And then there's the plural. This is just for looks. So blog users. If I refresh this, this is doesn't just say user, it says blog users. There's also some additional configuration you should do. So if I try to add, you can see that this password field shows up unhashed. We can save this and it will save, but it doesn't really work. So, but we can worry about that that kind of thing later. Okay. So we have user and super user. So let's fill out some of the basic stuff. So I'm just going to go to my site or to the blog. And I'm going to fill in this all posts thing. So posts equals, I will import blog posts. Objects.all. And then I'm going to do, return render request. And then let's do blog/all.html. And then as context, we'll do posts. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go in here and then create a templates folder. And blog, and then actually create all.html. Get the default going. And just because I'm lazy, we'll just see all the posts here. So let's see if that works. Well, let's create some blog posts. All right, so now I'm going to go to blog. Let's see. Template does not exist. Anyone see anything obvious here?
Actually, isn't, oh, that wouldn't be it. Never mind.
Use URLs. All posts, all posts. blog/all.html. Well, something's clearly wrong. It looks right to me. I'm a little confused here. So no one sees any obvious mistakes here. Good.
Is the path correct in your browser when you're there?
So /blog/nothing. So if I try to go to blog/something else, then it tells me I have two paths within blog. So /blog/protected and /blog/nothing. Strange. Let me just try.
It's normally where I shut the server off and restart it. I don't know, maybe with changing stuff. I've been typing along with you and mine works. So
Well, that's a good sign.
Did you end,
Oh, there, yeah, I don't know why that happened. Okay.
I've definitely had something like that happen a few times, and restarting it, like Jeff said, worked.
yeah, especially when it
Alright.
worked and I've been typing along. So
Yeah, that's a problem with things that work 98% of the time. You don't even think about it. All right, so good lesson there. Question your assumptions. So, all right, so we've got here, this is, I apologize, but we have 2 blog posts here. So what we're gonna do now is we'll write this later, but let's so the bulk of the work here is going to be starting now, where we're going to take care of this user auth app. So if we go to the URLs here, you see that we have 3 routes: sign up, log in, and log out. So sign up user. So sign up user, what we're going to want to do is we're going to have a form. It's going to be the basic thing. We'll have a form, and then the client will fill it out, or the person behind the client will fill it out, and the client will send that request, and then we'll parse through the post request, and then we'll create a user based on that. So yeah, let's start working through that process. So the form, we're gonna have to make a form, we know that. Forms.py. So from Django import forms. And this is, I'm gonna use a shortcut here because the user creation process is a little bit more complicated. You can definitely, do your own from scratch, but just a little bit more complicated, and I don't want to waste that much time. So we're going to use something that Django has built in, which is the user creation form. So you could basically imitate this and then use that as a form, but we'll just use this. And we'll alter the meta class to do what we want it to do. So import forms, and this comes from, user creation form. So this will be what was that? Forms. Django contribute boss forms. All right, so user creation form, and since if we hadn't done any customization, we could just leave it like this. But since we added that one field, maybe we want, when the user signs up, they could decide if they want to be a subscriber or not, whatever. So we'll do class meta. So there are 2 things that we need: the form, so form, or not form, model, and that will be so from dot models blog user, and then the fields we can kind of copy this example. So here in this example, there's only one field given, and there are these two kind of extra fields. So one reason why the user creation process is a little bit difficult is because you have to hash. You have to take care of hashing the password and stuff. So we'll just override username. We need that field. We also need the field that we added, which is that Boolean field. Username, and then the is paid subscriber. Okay, so that should be good for our form. Let's go back to the views, and we'll do we'll do the post get fork. So if request dot method is post, so form will be, we'll have to import this form. So from our forms, import blog user creation form. And that'll just be a blank form. And we will return render request the HTML, which let's say is auth / sign up. And then the context. All right, so let's work on that first. We'll get the HTML. Let's do templates, user auth, and then sign up. Boilerplate h1 sign up. And we have to, so we get the, the kind of core of the form. We have to provide the scaffolding here. So input, we have to do the submit button. We have to submit, and then value is, and this will have, this will be a post. And we're going to post it to the same route, so we can leave that, we leave the action blank, or not put it in there. We need a CSRF token for any form. And then the actual form itself. We can put that in paragraph tags. So let's see where that gets us. So I'm not going to blog, we're going to go to auth and, or whatever. What was that route? It was auth. We go to auth, we can see we have sign up, log in, log out. So let's go to sign up. Template does not exist. All right, I'm gonna start the server, try that again. I don't know why that's happening, but okay. So sign up, here's the, because we use the default form, there's a bunch of default stuff, but notice we have this, this extra field that we added, right? So I can do whatever. And the form works, but when we submit it, it tries to make a post request to this view and it doesn't return anything. So what we need to do here is process the form and then create the user. So we will do, we'll kind of like recreate the form with all of the information in it. So form equals log user creation form. We'll fill it out. And then we'll check if it's valid. And if it is, then we can just save the user. So that's fairly easy, actually. We'll leave it at that for now. Yeah, we'll have to redirect. And that will be, where should we redirect to sign up? You. All right, so we have these functions imported. We'll submit the form, check if it's valid, save the user, and then redirect to the posts. So let's try to paid subscriber. Okay, and if we go to the admin, you have that second user, which that's not right there, but all right, so be it. This is why we use the built-in stuff. So we have this user, check if the form is valid, and then we save it, and then we return redirect. Okay, if request is get, so I think that's taken care of. Sign up the user. Now, what we want to do is have someone be able to log in. So that will be a separate route here. And we're also going to need another form. So let's go to the forms. And let's do class. Login. We'll inherit from forms.form, so we can build it out ourselves, although we, there's lots of ways to do this. So we'll have username. And then password. Forms password input. I think that should do it. So we'll go back to the views, and so login user. So it's going to be the same pattern where if it's a get request, we'll return an empty form. If it's a post request, we'll check out the form and do some stuff. So we'll take care of this. So if request method . So we'll get a blank form. So blog user creation form, we'll import login blogger, login blog user. Request, and then user auth slash login.html and one. All right, so let's get the login. Just going to copy this. All right, let's try going to login. Okay, so we get an error as we might expect, because our post isn't doing anything. So what we need to do here now is, so this is, we already are supposed to have a user. So we need to pull the information from the form, check if the user, if we have a user and the user is valid. And then if it is, we can log in the user. So there are some methods for doing that. We can kind of control that at a lower level. So there's a function. Authenticate, you verify a set of credentials, takes credentials as keyword arguments, username and password, checks them against each authentication backend, and returns a user object if they're valid. If they're not valid, it returns none. So we'll process the form, pull out the username and password, and then call authenticate. Let's see. And here we'll pull out the username form dot clean data. This attribute gets created when you call is valid. All right, and then once we have the username and the password, we can call authenticate. We'll import it. So import authenticate. Let's do. Is this keyword? Yeah. All right, and we'll just print for now. All right, so to log in, we'll check the log here. And you is the user that logged in. So this is a valid user at this point. If we have a valid user, so authenticate, if it's valid, it will return the user. So once we have that user, we can actually log in. Okay, so if you have an authenticated user, blah, 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 you log in. So you pass in the request and the user. Well, okay, so if it's valid, let's do if valid user. Else. Okay, so if we have a valid user, we're going to log them in, and then we can redirect them somewhere. So return redirect verse. For now, let's redirect to the all posts. You can change that in a sec. And if it's not valid, then I'm going to return redirect reverse, and I'll send them back to the login. All right, so let's try that.
I think you need to import that, maybe.
Oh yeah, thank you. Okay, so we log in to valid user, we get redirected to this. We have an invalid user. You just get redirected back to the login page. Okay. So now we can sign up, we can log in. Let's do log out as well. So log out is kind of ridiculously easy. Just do log out. You just call log out. And then you can also redirect. So return. For now, we'll just do this. All right, so let me just see who's logged in. Okay, so I'm logged in. I have a session ID currently logged in. Oh, you can also, let me do login. Wow. You can see what user you are. Go to posts. No, blog. You see that I'm that user, you. Go back to the login, and we'll go to log out. So I got redirected back to login, but you can see that there's no session token. So I actually got logged out. And if I try going to I'm now an anonymous user, which is Django's way of saying you're not logged in.
Chad, if there's multiple people using the app, how does it know which user to log out?
Because you have a session token. So that information is contained in the request.
Oh, okay.
So the request has the user in it. So one thing about logout is that if it's, I guess you call it idempotent. So you could log out, you could call logout 50 times and it won't change anything. If you're not a valid user, it will just, you can go to logout and it's fine. It's not going to break anything. And if you are a valid user, you log out once, and then if you keep logging out, nothing else happens. So you don't have to really take any precautions with the logout. Okay, so now I'm logged out. So let's go to auth log in. And I get the CSRF token, session ID. I'm logged in here. All right, so now we've taken care of the authentication stuff. Now we want to start protecting our site. So we'll go into blog and views. And so anyone can go to all posts, whether they're an anonymous user, i.e. not logged in, or they're logged in. Now we want to show something. So I'm going to create a blog post. Don't tell anyone. All right, so let's say accept or exclude. Yeah, exclude. So this all posts will now get all of them except for that super secret one we have in there, and this one will just get that one. Post equals. And we'll return. Copy that. All right, so let's create this secret.html. Just gonna be lazy there. Okay, so let's see if this works now. So I am logged in. So I'm gonna go to see all the posts. And I can see I get all the posts. I don't have that one. And then what was the route? Protected. And I get this. So I'm logged in as you, that user. So that works. And let's try being logged out. So auth log out. So I'm logged out. Now if I try to go that okay, so that works because we haven't actually implemented anything yet. So right. So what we have to do now is we have to check if a user is logged in or not. So we can do that. Django has a built-in way of doing that. So we can do something like if request that user. So the user is on the request object. So user request that is authenticated. we can check if the user is authenticated. And if they are, then they can see this. Otherwise, something like you can redirect them to the login. So return reverse. All right, so I'm gonna try to go here again, and I got redirected to login. So just to see that again, let's go to blog, regular blog. So I'm an anonymous user. I'm not logged in, so I can go here, but I shouldn't be able to go to protected. I can't. If I try to go to protected, I get redirected to log in. So I can log in. I log in, I get redirected to this, which maybe doesn't make sense, but and then if I try to go to protected from here, it works. So that's the basic idea. This is, like basically kind of as low level as you can get with Django. Django has ways of handling this stuff that's, less code. So that's what you'll end up using, but it's probably good to have a clear picture for some of the lower level stuff. So that's basically it. So the challenge for today is more or less doing what I just did. And then in the rest of the week, we'll do it, basically like the way you're supposed to do it with Django. Are there any questions? Okay, I'll post the code shortly.